What's going on, my friends? It's your friend Jack here, and today we are back for a second video where we're going to be going over a Photoshop text wrap, word wrap trick that I think is actually really useful, especially for making some cool print-on-demand designs. So if you want to learn about this trick, this Photoshop trick, you can also follow along on Photopia. I'll leave it down in the description. It is a free online Photoshop. It is a bit slower, but it's absolutely free. So if you want to try out this trick for yourself on an image in a specific niche for yourself, then definitely you can do that. But with that being said, let's get right into the video. So before we get right into the tutorial, I just want to show you guys what I mean by word wrapping, and this is a very basic example. I am going to grab a little bit more difficult of an image after this, but we're going to start off with a simple example. I'm going to show you guys how you can do this pretty easily. It only takes a few minutes, and it is definitely a good way to make some really nice designs, and it's going to look like a professional design in the end because it's not just simple text, although the process is pretty similar to a simple text design, but it just adds a little bit more flavor to your design. So here's what it looks like if we have it enabled, and you could put whatever text you want here. I just put eat, sleep, drink beer. So I just put an example text, but you're going to see it looks pretty good. And you can change the text, you can change the color of it, you can change the font style like you could any normal text. And you see it wraps around this object. And we're going to have more complicated objects or more complicated object example later. But for now, I'm going to show you guys how you can do something like this in just a few minutes, if even that long. Alright, so first off, you're going to need an image or an object that it has its own layer here to select. So basically, what you're going to do after you have your layer to select is you're going to go over to the left hand side here, click on this little paintbrush tool, and click on the select subject button. Now, sometimes it is a little funky and it won't select the whole subject. That's okay. What you can do over here is make sure you're on the plus brush to add more to your selection, and just click on the part that isn't in your selection yet, and just keep clicking on it until it's selected, and it's going to correct itself, and now we have the whole bottle selected. So once you're in this stage, all you're going to need to do is go to the top left, click select, click modify here at the very kind of in the middle, and then click expand. Alright, so we're going to expand the selection because this is where our text is going to go in the expanded selection. We're going to do 100 pixels. You could put this down a little bit if you want less space in between the text and the subject. We're just going to go with 100. So now we have a selection that is expanded, and this is a very simple image and there's not much to smooth out. But in most images, what you're going to have to do is go over to select again, click modify, and click the smooth option. And then we're going to do 100 pixel smooth. And it's just going to smooth up some of these edges here, so when we put text there, it's not going all over the place and you can actually read the words still. Now, last step pretty much for this is you're hovering over this, you're going to want to right click, and all you're going to do is click make work path. And I have it set at 2 pixels. This seems to work pretty well. You can change this and mess around with it. 2 pixels. Now we have a work path. Now here's the magical part. All you have to do is grab your text tool on the left hand side here and configure it to your canvas size. So obviously my canvas size is like, I believe 5100 by 75 or 7100, 5000 by 7100. So I have a bigger text size. You might need to adjust your text size and your color depending on your background. And once you have it set in your font, you can change this after too, but it's easier if you have it set beforehand. You're going to click on here. And right, just like that, it's going to fill in some basic standard text. You can change this to whatever you want. And if you click Control A, you can, and then delete, you can, or backspace, you can delete it all. And then kind of type whatever you want here. You could put something like, I love beer, and then you could put a period, and then a space. Then you could select this, press copy, and Control V is the shortcut for pasting. And you could just paste it here like this. So you have I love beer surrounding your beer until it's full. Now you press OK, and you can unselect the work path or just click elsewhere on the screen, and you're going to have your wrapped beer bottle saying I love beer, I love beer, I love beer. You could put a full sentence here. You don't have to put the same text over and over again, but it's a nice little effect. You can even bring the words closer to the bottle if you just put the original dimensions closer to it. We use 100 pixels, but I could have used like 50, would have been tighter. However, on most images, you're going to want to go wider because a lot of different objects have more like specific areas where text can get jumbled together and not be readable. But yeah, that's the effect. And with that being said, let's go look at a more complicated example. I'll show you guys what it looks like on one of those. But honestly, this is a really cool and simple Photoshop trick that you can use to make nice text wrap designs. This works perfectly on circles too. If you want to do a quick circle text wrap, which is really good for designs that you already have on like a circle format, like a sunrise or sunset, this is an excellent way to select it and add some text wrap to it. But now let's go to a more complicated example. Alright, and here we have a definitely more complicated example. What we're going to do real quick is I believe there's some extra part that I didn't delete, so I'm just going to make it a bit smaller and do that. And basically, we're going to try to make it work, the text wrap, with something a little bit more complicated, like a person of a kid jumping. A picture of a kid jumping, not a person of a kid jumping. But yeah, so all you have to do, same steps, we're going to go over them real quick. We're going to go to the selection tool on the left hand side and we're going to click select subject. Well, we're on the layer we want to use for the text wrap. And after it does that, we'll see what it does. Alright, you're going to see it selected the child jumping very well. So now what we're going to do is go to the top left, click select, modify, and we're going to expand the selection by 100 pixels again, just to show you guys the same result or the same dimensions on a different image. Now we're going to go select in the top right, modify, and we're going to smooth it by 100 pixels. See all these little pieces of his hair right here? It's going to be a lot more smooth for our text to go in after we smooth it by 100 pixels. Takes a minute. And you're going to see now it's a more like solid, continuous line. Definitely easier to track with text. Now we're going to go over here. Oops, stay on the selection tool. Right click, select, and mask. Sorry, make work path. Close one. And 2 pixels again. We're going to grab our text. We're going to click on this when it kind of has that little line. And just like that, there's our text. And you're going to see in some of these corners it looks a bit weird. But what you can do is go over to that corner, space the letters out manually, or just leave a space there, like this. Delete some letters and space it out manually. Or you can also change, if you go over here to the side, or to this top bit right here, click on this, and you can change the space between letters. So we could do, let's say, 100, and it's going to put a little bit of space in between each letter if we have these selected. Control A to select all of them. Then you can do a little bit of a space in between them, like this. And 100 is probably a bit too much, but what you can do is test out what works. 10, let's say, or not negative 10, but like 30. Test out what works if your letters don't look that great. I'm just going to leave it as it is with 0, because I think it looks best like that. But yeah, that's the example on how you can make a text wrap design for pretty much any object. And this works very well for circles and basic shapes, but it also works well for fun shapes and objects that might be related in a niche. For example, let's say you have a pickleball niche and you can make a cool design with a pickleball that's a circle and put pickleball, related terms around it, or a saying, or a pickleball paddle, and do the same thing. And this is just one example of many different ways you can utilize Photoshop as, not an artist, but as a more graphic designer to make some awesome designs. It doesn't take that much time. And if you're wondering, the new arrival is now on Netflix. So there's also that. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed my circular webcam in this video. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. And as always, keep striving, stay blessed. Peace